Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today on This Is the Day. I'm Jay Fadden, joined by Father Reed. And Father, today we hear about a great book and a good friend is with us.
Dude, I have the great book right here, Looking for a King, a novel by Dr. David Downing. And it's published by Ignatius Press, and Dr. Downing's going to be with us today. And also, our great friend Seth DeMoor loves his Catholic faith. He went on a bicycle pilgrimage across the country to hear 1 billion stories. Going to be right here in the living room, Jay.
Kevin, what will we hear about in the news today?
And Jay, the Pope expresses concern of the growing unrest in Libya. Also, the funeral was held for the Catholic minister for minorities in Pakistan. And the Ukrainian Catholic Church began their Lenten season on Monday. All those stories ahead in the news. Jay?
All that and much more right now on This Is the Day. You know, hello. I never know what's going to be on the set. And here we have Bonnie, as usual, have left us beads because it is Fat Tuesday.
It is Fat Tuesday. Happy Mardi Gras, everyone. Great to have you with us. This is the last day before the great fast begins. Tomorrow's Ash Wednesday, and we're looking forward to that, too, because Lent is a great opportunity. But until it begins, we're going to enjoy ourselves here at Catholic TV.
I know. Well, you know what? I am too, because I'm going to have a nice candy bar today.
Good for you.
I am. I've decided on that. Hey, do you know there's a lively debate going on Facebook right now, Catholic TV's Facebook page?
Something about saints, isn't
it? It is, favorite saints. And a lot of people are chipping in and putting who their favorite saint is. I know who your favorite saint is.
You know who mine is. There's no question.
That's pretty easy.
Have you seen the new icon up in the chapel? I don't know if you've noticed it.
Oh, yeah.
When you watch Mass here on Catholic TV with this beautiful icon of St. Therese of Lisieux, the patroness of Catholic TV. And if you look very closely, there is a first-class relic of St. Therese embedded in the base of it, thanks to Jay Fadden, who...
yes, see it. You made me put it up. Yeah. I've absolutely seen it. Hey, later on today, just on Catholic TV, not with Salt and Light, who have some great program later today, too. But we have something great. We have Bishop Coyne.
Yeah, Bishop Christopher Coyne. He's right here on the cover of the March magazine for Catholic TV. He was ordained at the oldest Catholic church in Indianapolis as an auxiliary bishop of the Archdiocese of Indianapolis. And you can see that Mass today, right here on Catholic TV, your favorite Catholic television station.
You know, we have a busy show today, too, because, you know, we have Seth coming on, and Dr. Downing will be on, and we have a friend from the Miraculous Medal who's watching us, and that makes me a little bit nervous. So I'm looking forward to this. And you know, right after this program, we have to do something in the chapel, too. This is just, you know, telling you what happens here at Catholic TV a lot. We actually changed the background, and I don't know if people even notice this. If you watch the Mass behind the altar, you'll see, and behind the tabernacle is fabric, and we change it out for the season all the time. You make me do that, too.
Soft goods, as Charles would say.
Yeah, Charles and I will be up there changing that out.
Yeah, and the candles will go, and the chapel will be simplified for tomorrow's celebration of Ash Wednesday right here on Catholic TV, the beginning of the 40 days, the holy season of Lent.
Yeah, it is a great time, and it's a great time for a guy like myself, and I'm sure for Kevin he would say the same thing, and people here, for a family in Lent, when you can bring the family together, you can explain what it's about, maybe show them the relationship you have with Christ and how you can make that deeper during this season. And as I said last week, when you weren't here, by the way, with us, you were on assignment, as I said.
I heard you say that.
Yeah, Kevin made sure that I said on assignment. But it's, you know, it's really an opportunity to expand beyond that. What we can't do is just say, okay, here's Lent, and then after Lent say, okay, well, I'm going to go back to the same thing. It's, here's Lent, now that I've expanded this relationship has grown, let's carry that forward going forward.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a tremendous opportunity for all of us, for families and individuals, to deepen our relationship with Jesus Christ and come to appreciate the great Catholic tradition that we all share. And we're going to be hearing a lot more about that today when our good friend Seth DeMoor, because he's got 1 billion stories, and as Jay said to me earlier, we're one of those stories here at Catholic TV now.
We are, and we have to thank Seth. I'm going to do it now before he even comes on, but I'll do it again because he's taking the time to join us. He's doing a great series for us, too. Wait till you see the stories. Because a lot of times I think we all might consider that we're alone in our faith. And what Seth is going to show you in a very real way during the series is that there are a billion stories out there. There's a billion Catholics, that you're not alone, and there are so many people who are doing great work out there. Hey, just living the life, who are just in their everyday life using the Catholicism, the Catholic faith, to have that as a bridge of how they want to continue to live. It's a great thing.
I'm looking at the cover of this book, Looking for a King. You know, this is a novel, and we're going to be talking to Dr. Downing in just a moment, but it centers on the spear that pierced Jesus' side. And Longinus, that spear, the relic of that, is actually at St. Peter's in Rome. And speaking of Rome, you know, we had a chance to take a little viaggio, a little trip to Rome, and one of the places we stopped to see was the Trevi Fountain, and I got to throw a coin with the hope that we'll all get to come back. So anyways, let's take a trip to Rome right now to the Trevi Fountain. We're back in Rome. I'm Father Reed. Ciao, amici. From La Fontana di Trevi, the Trevi Fountain. Certainly, this is the most famous and arguably the most beautiful fountain in all of Rome. This impressive monument dominates the relatively small and packed with people Trevi Square, located in the Quirinale district of Rome. The Trevi Fountain is actually at the end of what's called the Acqua Virgo, an aqueduct that was constructed way back in 19 BC. It brings water all the way from the Salone Springs, which is about 20 kilometers, about 12 and a half miles from Rome. You see, back in 1732, Pope Clement XII commissioned Nicola Salvi to construct this gigantic fountain here in Trevi Square. The construction of the monumental Baroque masterpiece was finally completed in 1762. The central figure in the fountain, in front of the large niche, is the god Neptune, god of the sea. He's riding on a chariot in the shape of a shell pulled by two seahorses. Each seahorse is guided by a triton. One of the horses is calm and obedient. The other is restive. They symbolize the fluctuating moods of the sea. Now, on the left-hand side of Neptune is a statue representing abundance, and the statue on the right represents good health. And above the sculptures are reliefs, one of them showing Agrippa, the general who built the aqueduct that carries the water to this marvelous fountain here in Trevi Square. And the water here below in the fountain represents the entire sea. Legend has it that you will return to Rome if you throw a coin into the water. The tradition is to toss that coin over your shoulder, right back into the fountain. Now, I always want to come back to Rome. Who doesn't? It's such an incredibly wonderful city. So this coin is for the both of us. From the Trevi Fountain here in the historic center of Rome, I'm Father Reed. Ciao, everyone. Ci vediamo presto.
Wow. So when are we going back?
I don't know. I wish this was a cappuccino.
Yeah, that was a great trip.
Yeah.
That was a great trip. And it is very exciting over there, so I always enjoyed Rome. Well, joining us now is Dr. David Downing, the author of Looking for the King, an Inklings novel published by Ignatius Press. Doctor, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm a bit intimidated. You mentioned a later guest who's going to have a billion stories, and I only have one story to talk about.
Yeah, but you got one good one.
Oh, good, good. As long as one good one, that will do then.
You know, one story worth, you know, a billion people will talk about it. How's that?
There, that would be great. That would be great.
Hey, your book is subtitled An Inklings Novel. Could you remind us who the Inklings were for those who might not be familiar with them?
Okay, I was a bit surprised when I did that subtitle. I was hoping people would remember that there was a literary circle in the 30s and 40s that included J.R.R. Tolkien of The Lord of the Rings and C.S. Lewis of the Narnia Chronicles and many other books, as well as a number of other Christian scholars and professors and some lay people. And so I thought that was a more familiar term. People have asked me, who were the Inklings? Is that some sort of publishers, or they've had different theories on who that was? But it was a literary circle, mainly of Oxford residents who got together once or twice a week to discuss literature and faith and to read each other's manuscripts.
David, Father Reed here. Can you just give us a quick teaser? I'm dying to read the book, but I'd like to just get a little preview of Looking for the King.
Well, the story is set in 1940, which is when England and France were already at war with Nazi Germany and were losing the war. This is in the spring and summer of 1940. And I have two Americans who were over in England. This is before America has joined the war, which didn't happen until December of 1941. So Tom McCord is a young man who's writing a book on King Arthur, and he's visiting Arthurian sites. And he has a couple of thugs who try to scare him off his research, which sort of sets the novel going. He's trying to figure out why they would care about his studies of King Arthur. And he meets another American named Laura Hartman, who's having these strange, compelling dreams that she believes can only be answered if she goes to England and visits a number of cathedrals. And as the story develops, they discover that what they're both really looking for is the spear of Longinus, the spear that pierced the side of Christ on the cross.
Where'd you get the idea to do this? Because for us, you know, it's very interesting, and it sounds so exciting. Where did it come from?
Well, you know, you mentioned earlier the one version. There are many versions of where the spear rests now. Some say the Vatican. Some say it's in Poland. The Germans thought they had it. Hitler was interested in it. He thought he found a good candidate called the Heilige Lance in Vienna when Germany annexed Austria. But the English also have claim to having a spear of destiny. When my wife and I were visiting England in 2005, we went down to King Arthur country, which is in the southwest corner of England, Somerset and Cornwall. And we were looking mainly at King Arthur sites. That's where his birthplace and the place where he received the Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake. They're all down in that corner of England. But we were surprised how many stories we heard about Joseph of Arimathea. There's a very strong legend in that area that the wealthy merchant who took Christ's body off the cross and put it in his own tomb, he was also a friend and perhaps a relative of Jesus' family long before the Passion Week. And he was actually a merchant who came all the way to England, a tin merchant. There were, back in Roman times, there were tin and lead and copper mines in England. And so the theory, it's a very strong tradition, is that he actually brought the boy Jesus to England during those lost years before Jesus began his public ministry, and that he brought the spear and the chalice, the Holy Grail, with him to England after the death and resurrection of Christ. So I always thought this was just sort of a fanciful legend, but when you go to that part of the country, they literally will say, this is where the old Roman boats used to tie up, and this is where they used to go and mine the tin, and you can see these holes in the ground where they're obviously ancient quarries. And they'll actually talk about Old Joe or Big Joe, Joseph of Arimathea, as if they were just talking to him in a pub last week. So I became very interested in how strong these traditions were, that Joseph of Arimathea had brought the spear and the Holy Grail to England. And at the same time, I was reading Lewis's and Tolkien's letters, and I said, I had to write a novel in which I connect my fascination with the Inklings and all their insights, and not only their creative projects, but also their faith. I should combine that with a quest story about trying to find out if the spear of destiny, it was called. Eventually, there was a legend that grew up that Constantine had it when he became emperor, that Charlemagne had it, that Napoleon was looking for it, that Hitler was looking for it. And so the quest of the novel is whether or not the Spear of Destiny might be hidden in England rather than somewhere else in Europe.
Well, we're all fascinated, David, and I think we all want to read the book. Can you help us to find it? Where can our viewers find this great book?
Well, Ignatius is the publisher. You can get it on Amazon, www.amazon. Ignatius also directly, they have their own website, www.lookingfortheking.com. And they have an audio download. They have a great reader who does a dramatic version of one of the chapters, which is an Inklings meeting.
Oh, great.
And he actually studied the voices of Lewis and Tolkien and some of their friends. And so it very much sounds like readers' theater as they all get involved in conversation and conviviality. So I would say either go to www.amazon.com or www.lookingfortheking.com.
Sounds great.
Well, David, thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to having you on again sometime with your next book.
Okay, enjoy talking to you. I am working on a sequel. The book is doing well, so Ignatius would like me to do a sequel. So I hope there will be a next book in a few years. And enjoy your Fat Tuesday.
Thank you so much, David.
God bless, David.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Looking for the king. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I think I found the king, though. It's Kevin Nelson.
King Nelson.
Yes, King Nelson. How you doing, Kevin?
Great, Jay. I always look forward to these transitions.
Yeah, can I ask you this? Are you going to just eat a lot of food and stuff tonight before Lent begins? Candy bars, everything?
Hadn't planned on, but it sounds like a good idea.
Hey, what's going on in the world with the Catholic faith?
All right, thanks, Jane. Hello, Father, and everyone. It's time to take a look at the news. We begin from the Vatican. After praying the Angelus with pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square, Pope Benedict XVI called for aid and assistance to civilians caught in the conflict in Libya. The Pope expressed his concern over the growing crisis and said his prayers were with all victims and those who find themselves in distress. More than 1,000 people were believed to have died in the 2 weeks after pro-democracy protests began in mid-February. A violent crackdown on the popular movement also triggered a large exodus of people, including migrants. More than 100,000 people were said to have fled to Egypt and Tunisia. Catholic aid agencies mobilized to provide assistance to some of the tens of thousands of foreign and migrant workers fleeing the violence. Caritas Internationalis and Catholic Relief Services started distributing 2,000 meals and 3,000 bottles of water at the eastern border. The effort was expected to reach 5,000 people stranded at the crossing into Saloum, Egypt. A CRS spokeswoman said the agencies plan to have their own distribution network established by March 10th. The effort is being coordinated by the UN High Commissioner for Refugees and the International Organization for Migration. In news now from around the country, with Ash Wednesday taking place for the Latin Rite Catholics on March 9th, the Ukrainian Catholic Church has already begun Lent. Their Lent started on Monday, March 7th. Chaz Muth from Catholic News Service visited with the Ukrainian Archbishop of Philadelphia, who talks about some of the differences between the two rites for Lent.
Lent for the Eastern Church begins today, March 7th, 2 days before the Latin Rite Catholic calendar, and members of the U.S. Ukrainian Catholic Church are ready. During a pre-Lenten communion breakfast Sunday at the Ukrainian Catholic National Shrine of the Holy Family in Washington, the faithful prepared for their greatest feast of their liturgical calendar, Pascha Easter, by gearing up for 40 days of fasting and prayer.
We don't begin with the ashes. It's not a custom within our churches. The emphasis in our church is one of becoming, having a good earnest look at oneself and desiring to see that which you can strip away from yourself to become more Christ-like. In the Latin Church, you always have readings from the Old Testament pretty well. We don't, but throughout Lent, it's a customary part of all of our services. We start back from salvation history and continues to reminding us of God's intervention in humanity and how He calls us forth to become closer to Him, and tremendous gifts we are called to use in a productive way in our day-to-day lives.
In Washington, I'm Chaz Muth for Catholic News Service.
Looking now at news from around the world, over 20,000 Christians from all over Pakistan came to the remote village of Kushpur for the funeral of Shahbaz Bhatti, Pakistan's assassinated minister for minorities. Peter Jacob, executive secretary of the Pakistani Bishops' Justice and Peace Commission, told Catholic News Service that it was a very emotional funeral with the people wailing and weeping. Bhatti, who was a 42-year-old Catholic, was assassinated by unidentified gunmen who sprayed bullets into his car from automatic weapons as he was being driven to his office in Islamabad on March 2nd. The final leg of the funeral was led by Bishop Joseph Coutts of Faisalabad, joined by 2 Protestant bishops and dozens of Catholic priests. Bhatti's body was flown to Kushpur in the afternoon from Islamabad, about 300 miles away. After a memorial mass at Our Lady of Fatima Church in Islamabad, thousands of Christians, religious leaders, foreign diplomats, and government officials, led by the Prime Minister, Yusuf Raga Jilani, attended the Islamabad service, which included a state salute. And in news from around the country, in a joint statement, New York Archbishop Timothy Dolan and Brooklyn Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio said a requirement that crisis pregnancy centers must display disclaimers about the services they provide is designed to prevent pro-life advocates from speaking freely. The Pregnancy Service Center bill, first proposed last fall, was passed by the New York City Council, and Mayor Michael Bloomberg was expected to sign it. Under the ordinance, crisis pregnancy centers are required to post notices on their doors and waiting room walls and in advertisements that they do not perform abortions or provide referrals or distribute FDA-approved contraceptives. They also must post a notice when a physician is not in-house. Penalties for failure to comply include being shut down for 5 days after 3 violations. Centers can receive stiff fines, and personnel can be jailed for up to 6 months if they fail to comply with the shutdown order. A similar law in Baltimore was recently struck down as unconstitutional by a federal judge because it violated the First Amendment rights of pregnancy centers. Well, that is all the information we have for you on this Tuesday, March 8th, 2011. Let's go back over to Father and Jay with more of This Is the Day.
Well, Kevin, thank you very much. We'll see you a little later on in the program.
Yeah, thanks, Kev.
Thank you. Joining us now is Seth DeMoor, who has traveled the country on his bike to hear 1 billion stories. Seth, always such a pleasure to see you. How you doing?
Good to see you, too. I'm doing well. It's great to be in Boston.
Well, you know what's interesting? So we had you on This Is the Day a little while ago.
A little while back.
And I remember saying to you at that point, well, we're going to have you on again. And next thing you know, now you're here for a week. We're doing a series. And I am really excited. I know Father is too excited about it because it's going to be great. But why don't you first of all tell us about your bike pilgrimage?
The actual pilgrimage.
Yeah, the actual pilgrimage.
I cast out into the deep about a year ago, actually. In fact, 1 year ago, I was in New Orleans for Mardi Gras on my bike ride across the country. And so what I did is I left Orlando, Florida, January 3rd with my bike, my laptop, my video camera, casting out in hopes of gathering as many inspiring stories from anyone who's willing to share their story in their Catholic faith with me on camera. And so if I have a 5 seconds to pitch it to someone, I call it a Catholic YouTube. And that's really the mission, is to go global and spread it to millions of people through the internet, because as you know, Pope Benedict now has a YouTube channel, and there's 2 billion internet users around the world every day now. So the opportunity to share the faith with millions of people and billions of people is at our fingertips. So that's what I did. I cast out from Orlando, and it took me 3 months to get back to Denver, 2,400 miles. It was the coldest winter in 50 years in the South. And I gathered about 300 stories over 3 months. And, you know, I put up a new story every day to the website, 1billionstories.com. And so a lot of people ask me, why is it called 1 Billion Stories? Well, the first piece, stories, Christ used parables to teach. So why not use the modern day stories of everyday Catholics to share the faith, but also the 1 billion. A lot of people don't know that there's actually 1 billion Catholics in the world. That's a lot of people. I think we just passed, or we're about to pass, 7 billion people in the world. So 1 out of every 7 people that you meet on the street is actually Catholic.
Seth DeMoor, 1billionstories.com. I got to ask you personally, what was it that motivated you, Seth DeMoor, to do this pilgrimage?
To hop on my bike?
What was it?
I was lukewarm in my faith growing up. The first 20, 21 years of my life, even though I was, I went to all my CCD classes, and I had great teachers, but the faith never traveled from my head to my heart. It was stuck up there, and thankfully my family did go to Sunday Mass, but it was just going through the motions. Catholic calisthenics, you know, the genuflecting and the sign of the cross, but no meaning behind it. So I went to college, and I was beginning to meet other young Catholics who are willing to share their faith with me, and not in a beat a Bible over my head, or evangelization in your face, like you got to go to Mass this weekend or else. It was just over coffee or at a local Irish pub, Connor O'Neill's in Boulder, Colorado. We would go out and we would just talk about anything Catholic, whether it's the saints or the recent encyclical that's been released. And so these stories that I was hearing at the University of Colorado just changed my life and inspired me to, you know what? These stories I'm hearing, they're too good for just me to hear. Wow. Somehow they need to be gathered and shared with as many people as possible because they literally changed my life.
That's a great story
in college.
Yeah,
so,
that's very exciting too, because today you hear about young people and how they react to the faith, and they're so busy, and yet you just tell this story about getting together. It's a fabric of their life, obviously. It's part of their being, which is exciting. Now, you've done, as you said, over 300 stories just on this ride. Some must have surprised you.
Yes, some definitely surprised me. Well, just an interesting situation is that a gentleman in the middle of the storytelling, he's like, "You want to see my eye?" I was like, "Do I want to see your eye? I can see it right now." He's like, "No, you want to see my eye."
This is going to be gross.
And boom, out comes his glass eye in the middle of the interview. So that was an interesting story. But the most interesting, the most inspiring story that I heard was from a young man. His name is Stephen, and he was raised Catholic, became a Buddhist, got into the New Age movement, and then fundamentalist Christian. And when I interviewed him about a year ago, he was in RCIA to be confirmed.
Well, that's great.
But just his conviction for the faith was incredible. And I experienced that all across the southern U.S. as I biked from Florida to Colorado.
It's evangelization too. What you're really trying to do, in a sense, is what we are all called to do as Catholics, is to evangelize.
That's the call of our baptism. We're called to share the faith with everyone.
We're really looking forward to your series.
Thank you.
And people are going to be seeing more of you, Seth DeMoor. And because you're now part of the Catholic TV family, I have the official Catholic TV lapel pin.
Thank you very much. I'll pin it on. I'll put it on right after the show.
And your website again is?
1billionstories.com with a B, O-N-E, billionstories.com, because there's 1 billion Catholics in the world. And we all have a story.
And if someone has a story, can they send you a story too?
Absolutely. You can send it to Seth at 1billionstories.com. That's the email. Or right on the website, there's a tab that says Get Involved. Click on that, and you can submit your story idea, and then we'll archive it, and we'll come get it.
Here are your beads.
Thank you.
Well, let me tell you, it is an honor to have you with us. It's what you're doing for the church. You're a great example to young people and to older people, Father Reed and myself, of how we should live out our faith. So we appreciate it. We appreciate you using your talents, too, to show other people. That's a great thing.
Thank you
so much.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for watching This Is the Day today. We'd like to thank Dr. Downing for telling us about his great book, for Seth for being with us, and especially for you, for your affirmation and support of Catholic TV, wherever you are watching this, whatever station or channel you're watching this on. Support your local Catholic television station, because it makes a difference in people's lives. And know that all of you are in our thoughts and in our prayers.
And don't forget, if you don't receive a copy of the Catholic TV Monthly, we would love to send it to you. The address will appear right at the end of the show today. And on the cover, Bishop Christopher Coyne, his ordination from Indianapolis today on the Catholic TV network. And may Almighty God bless and protect each and every one of you today, and as we begin the season of Lent tomorrow. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us here in the Catholic TV living room. We love coming into yours. Until next time, everyone, God bless. Happy Fat Tuesday.